Welcome to Wholeness in Motion, the Foundation video series, and this is session 8. The topic is the coordinating system, or how intention coordinates our movement and our actions. The other side of the coordinating system, attention, is mentioned, but there's not as much focus on attention as there is intention underlying what ignites and organizes our self in the world. I'm doing this video slightly differently today, where I've taken a theory class that was made as part of the supplementary material for Wholeness in 12 last year, and it was on the subject matter, and I'm editing it down for the purposes of this foundation series. And I hope that it gives you a flavor of what some of these theory classes that do come along with the work. It's part of what you experience if you join and explore the work together. So here we go, theory class on intention. Enjoy. So welcome to Wholeness in 12, Theory 16. And we're going to look at this underlying question of why do we draw the elephant's ear in the animal form? Why would I guide the movement like that? Draw the elephant's ear is a different instruction than raise and circle your arms like this. Raise and circle your arms up around your head, out to the side and down, versus draw this big elephant's ear around you. And I'm going to use a different demonstration to bring out the core point of, to make clear about the why do we say draw an elephant's ear, because this is simpler and makes the point more clearly. So first thing you can do is try this. Raise your arm and hold it and point your finger at an object. Raise your arm and hold it. Then see that object, see an object, and it's out there in front of you, and point to it as if you were pointing it out to someone. You go, hey, look at that. Go back and forth between, raising your arm and pointing, and just simply pointing out the object. Look at that. Or you can do it, you could raise your arm on one side and just point to the other. So you could kind of do one on each side. I'm going to raise my arm and hold it here and go, hey, look at that on the other. Notice the difference between the two different ways of getting into the same physical form. Like at a distance, these might look the same, but is one lighter or heavier than the other? If you hold your arm on one side and point on the other, is one more or less work? Where do you feel the work or strain in one compared to the other? In the shoulders or the back, distributed all the way through me? And the pedagogical interlude here is that we've got a comparison, and then we're asking specific comparative question to help people register the difference in sensation. If you just say, what do you notice, or how does it feel, it's often like blank stares, because people don't have that sensory information yet. So lighter, heavier, more or less work, those kind of specific, help them have some sensory words. So, one of my other questions that I like when somebody's really can't feel it is, you can say, if you had to sustain that shape for a long time, as if you were in a show and you're supposed to stand on stage there, which one would you choose? So you could have people, hold your arm up and hold it on one side, and hey, look at that on the other, and which one would they do? And almost always, I've done this with hundreds of people, most of you have done this with me in a workshop or class, choose the one that goes, hey, look at that. And that'll help them. Then you can ask questions like, why would you have chose that? They notice that you really did feel a difference. You just didn't know you were feeling a difference. So what do those different sensations tell you about how you work? The ease of pointing out something out to someone, the hey, look at that version, compared to the focused effort of raising the arm and holding it, gives us information about our functioning. It's often that people will feel, they'll say, I feel more effort in my shoulder, under my arm. That's what I mean by focused effort. And the other feels more distributed and easy. The feeling of ease in that the one of pointing out something to someone is a whole system response to the desire to point. I want to show you something. Lots of muscles do distributed work. The feeling of effort in your upper arm and shoulders and the raise your arm and kind of hold it version is the feeling of your system trying to give you an arm to raise. An arm is actually a human construct. It's useful for tailoring and surgery, but not for action. The system doesn't say, I've got an arm, I'm going to move it. It just it coordinates the whole billions of bits of information to just let you point something out. The effort in that raise my arm one is the effort of a few muscles doing a little bit of work. It's kind of like the difference between the whole choir moving the chairs versus just you moving the chairs. Everybody's doing a little work, or just one person's doing all the work. So the feeling of pointing out something compared to the effort of holding and moving is not the feeling of being more relaxed. And that's what many people say. What's the difference? Well, this one feels tighter and this feels more relaxed. Relaxation is a sensory word, and it's commonly a misinterpretation of the sensation of ease and efficiency. The easy, efficient feeling is not caused by relaxed muscles. It isn't more relaxed. It's caused by distributed, lively activation of many muscles firing in multiple sequences. There's lots of muscle activation in that pointing something out to someone. The system just doesn't have to grab your attention with sensation. It doesn't make it loud. It doesn't give you sensations of strain to warn you of trouble. Instead, you just feel easy. The sensation of efficiency is nothing. It's easy, it's simple, it feels empty almost. The comparison between these two has been a foundation. The comparison between ease and strain has been a foundation of our work this year. Sensation is information, if accurately interpreted. Right? So we just saw how it could be inaccurately interpreted. And our job is to help people more accurately interpret their sensations. Relaxation is different than ease. It's in that heavy, shutting the muscles off coordination we have looked at when we address gravity, suspension, and our springy system. So to help people more accurately interpret their sensation, you do, in fact, need to know some things about how the system works, which is literally all the mapping work. It's what today's session is about. Expanding our sensory vocabulary is part of our process so we can more accurately have words for what we feel beyond the words like tense and relaxed. And so we've done this before in one of the early theory classes, 3 or 4 or something. It's just like, look at this lovely list of words and feel them, and you feel slimy or smooth or choppy or turbulent. Murky. I feel dull today. Anyway, this is a great thing to just keep bringing into the world, sensory words. So the difference in sensation between the two actions not only gives us information about ease and strain, it gives us crucial information about how the human system works. When you look under your experience, you can discover facts about your design. Why do these two experiences make sense? What do they show me about human design? And how would I find out? You don't always have to go to some expert who's done research and da-da-da-da-da. It's like actually lived experience creates that curiosity, which might in fact lead to a research study. My fingers are crossed. I have 20 for people to do. But in this case, how does the pointing to something out set the system up to coordinate movement differently than the instruction to raise your arm and hold it? See something and point it out invites a whole system response to the intention to point. I have a purpose. Raise your arm and hold it to point invites a body part's response to the instruction. It asks you to move a body part. It's telling you what to move. The instruction says, move this, getting your conscious mind to move a part. It's making a system that's designed to be a system into a collection of parts that need your conscious attention. these are two completely different coordinations of your system. Even if the shape from the outside looks almost the same, you know, both look like somebody pointing. If you've started to look at this, you can totally see a difference, but for many people it'll look the same. The sensation on the inside is different. The way the movement is ignited is totally different. It's a completely different firing of musculature and actually chemical activity, I bet. The purpose of the movement or action is different in each, and hence you have a different coordination. The same principle is true for all aspects of functioning. When we compare A and B, so here's a common one. It's like a big peeve for me of people telling somebody else to take a breath, take a big breath. So people do this action that's actually a natural function, and they do it. So you can feel a little bit of an opinion here. Sorry, it can work. Everything can work in its own way, but let's feel the sensation of it. So that was bias coming in. I'm sorry, because we really just want to have you compare and make your own agency around this. So the other way is to do something like this, and let me give the whole instruction. You just say shh until you start to run out of air, enough air for that sound. You stop shh. You just notice the air falls in without you needing to take it. So let's do this. Take a breath and then do shh. Shh. And between the shs, air just falls in. If you have to talk about air, it's like allowing it to fall in versus as if there's some action. Comparing A with B, where A is a parts-directed instruction, or it's like telling the human system how to do something, it's often a correction. Comparing and with B, which is an intention to do something, a purpose-driven instruction. It's not really tricks, it's purpose-driven, is really a huge tool in this work. And really fun phrase, I think, Jen, you handed this one to me about doing the how. People were trying to do how to do it. And we're just, instead of doing that, we're giving an intention that lets the how happen. And there's many stories along this line because, of course, much of this insight comes from David Gorman's work and the Learning Methods website. And there's a great story about working with a violinist, so you can see this principle working with instrumentalists and a painter and so forth. Almost every technical problem in skill acquisition can be explored with this approach. It doesn't mean that sometimes somebody won't do a small piece, but it's amazing how much gets cleared up when you get clear of the bigger picture, intention. Intention coordinates action. Purpose. We are a coordinating system. We draw the elephant's ear because we are a coordinating system. Movement choreography is more whole and lively when intention for the movement is ignited. Drawing the elephant ears gives purpose to create the movement shape of the choreography. The WIM sequences are a weaving of choreography from around the world. I took the choreography, the movements I wanted to use, and found intentions to ignite them. Right? So Kauri Payatu is the beginning, the animal, the elephant and lion, and it actually has that embedded in it. Then there's some Tai Chi style movement. Then there's a health, like a sort of Qigong version from Korea. There's yoga type forms, but all of them, we say, spread the seas, turn into Artemis, point. We bring life to it because it ignites us in a way that, creates that adaptation for really healthy, whole movement. We draw the elephants here because we are a coordinating system, again. Even when we look at parts in order to clarify a movement or help shift a pattern, we come back to the big picture or whole system action as soon as possible. So when we do mouthing and feeling that connection from the organization of the nursing reflex and the connection to the tail, we might go into a part, but then we bring it back into what's the difference, those comparisons, strain, and when I relate to that as I bend over into the world. So parts support the whole. if we don't do that, the part becomes the goal. And that over and over again, people would come in, I want to learn good posture. And I would say, why? What's it for? Because good posture is good. Good for what? It would take 10 questions before it would be about, well, it's got something, what I really want to do is sing well or dance freely or not have a backache. Let's focus on that. Our goal is to not hurt our back. Then we can look at what would help us do that versus making good posture is then going to lead to that. Let's keep the primary focus and experiment and explore. So there's so many examples of the part becoming the goal. Dynamics, people are working on dynamics. That's not immediately be like, well, why? What's that for? It's for expression. Root the sub-goal into the whole goal. And so clearly all those adjudication forms, if you understood this, they would change. Attention coordinates our being. Intention coordinates action. So in this theory class, we are not looking at the attention side of the coordinating system today. We certainly covered this in many, many earlier theory classes. If I'm feeling drawn and inwards, I'll have that heavy thing. If I'm a little freaked out and ahead of myself, I'll be in a state of being that will, in fact, coordinate my shape. And that has to do with what my attention is on. If my attention is on my past, my structure, my chemistry will be completely different than if it's on worrying about something in the future. It's a huge part of the coordinating system, but what we are talking about today is the intention side of the coordinating system.